She was cold, homeless, clutching her child on a subway floor when a billionaire changed her life with one card. But 1 hour later, his phone buzzed. He read the charge and froze. Because her choice would destroy the world he believed in. The cold that morning in New York did not care who you were, rich or poor. It touched everyone the same way. The air cut through clothes. It burned the skin. It made people walk faster, heads down, hands deep in pockets. Trains screamed under the ground, feet rushed on concrete, voices mixed with noise. Life moved fast and did not wait for anyone. Daniel Carter stepped out of his black car near the subway entrance, his driver closing the door behind him. Daniel wore a thick, dark coat, clean shoes, and gloves that had never touched dirt. His phone was already in his hand, messages filling the screen, board members arguing, investors angry, numbers rising and falling. His assistant walked behind him, talking fast, reminding him of time, meetings, pressure. Daniel listened but did not hear. He had not truly heard anything in years. He was 38 years old, a billionaire, the owner of companies that sold medicine to millions of people. His face was calm, trained to show nothing, but inside him was a quiet emptiness that never left. He lived in a tall building with wide windows, soft carpets, and silence so loud it hurt. He ate good food, slept on expensive beds, yet every morning felt the same: heavy, empty, cold. His father's voice lived in his head, strong and sharp. Trust no one. Poor people will take everything. Kindness makes you weak. Daniel had believed those words all his life. He built walls with them, high walls, safe walls. As Daniel walked toward the subway stairs, something slowed his steps. Not noise, not traffic, not his phone, something else. Near the wall, close to the entrance, sat a woman on the ground. Her back was against the cold tiles, her coat thin, her shoes worn. In her arms was a small girl, sleeping, her face pressed into her mother's chest. The child's jacket was too big. The sleeves covered her hands, the zipper broken. A piece of cardboard lay beside them, written in black marker: "Single mother. Lost home. Please help." Daniel stopped. People passed them every second. Some looked away, some pretended not to see, some stepped around them like they were part of the wall. Daniel had passed people like this before, many times, always without stopping, always with reasons, always with distance. But this time, he could not move. The woman lifted her head when she felt someone close. Her face showed tiredness that went deep, not the kind that leaves after sleep. Her lips were dry, her hair pulled back without care, but her arms were tight around the child, strong, protective. Her eyes met Daniel's, and there was no acting in them, no begging look, just shame mixed with fear. "I am sorry," she said quickly, her voice low. "We are not bothering anyone. We can move if you want." The words hit Daniel harder than shouting would have. She was sorry for sitting on the floor, sorry for being seen, sorry for existing. Daniel's assistant cleared her throat behind him. "Sir, we are already late. The meeting cannot wait." Daniel raised his hand without turning around. He kept looking at the woman. "What is your name?" he asked, his voice slower than usual. The woman looked surprised, like she had not expected a question. "Lisa," she said softly. "Lisa Morgan." "And her?" Daniel asked, nodding toward the child. "My daughter," Lisa said, her arms tightening without thought. "Emily, she is 6. Daniel looked at the child's face, peaceful in sleep, unaware of cold, noise, danger. Something moved inside him, something he did not like, something he did not understand. "How long?" he asked, then paused, choosing his words. "How long have you been here?" Lisa looked down. Silence filled the space between them, thick and heavy. 5 months, she said finally, barely above a whisper. "We stay here sometimes at the shelter when there is space." 5 months. A child on the floor for 5 months. Daniel felt his chest tighten. Not pain, not fear. Something else. Something uncomfortable. "You should go," his assistant said again. Louder this time. Nervous. "This is not safe." Daniel ignored her. He reached into his coat. Not for money. Not for bills like usual. His fingers touched smooth plastic. Lisa watched him, her eyes careful, ready for disappointment. Daniel pulled out a black credit card, clean, heavy, unlimited. He held it between his fingers, looking at it like it was not his, like it belonged to another world. "Take this," he said. Lisa stared at the card, then at him, then shook her head. "No," she said fast. "I cannot. I do not want trouble." "It is for 24 hours, Daniel said, his voice steady, though his thoughts were loud. "Use it for whatever you want." Her hand shook. "This is not funny," she said, fear rising. "People do not do this." "I am not joking," Daniel replied. "Why?" she asked, her voice breaking. "Why us?" Daniel looked at Emily again, at the way Lisa held her like she was the last thing in the world. "I want to see something," he said slowly. "I want to know if what I was taught is true." Lisa did not understand his words, but she understood the weight of the card. She took it with both hands, like it might fall, like it might burn her. "I will bring it back," she said quickly. "I promise." "Tomorrow morning," Daniel said. "Same place." His assistant looked sick, her face pale, her mouth open, but Daniel had already turned away. As he walked back toward the car, his heart felt strange. Not fast, not slow, heavy, uncertain. His father's voice shouted in his head, "Fool! She will steal. She will run. You will regret this." Daniel got into the car, closed the door, and stared out the window as the city moved past. He did not feel proud. He did not feel kind. He felt exposed, like he had opened a door inside himself that should have stayed locked. That night, in his large apartment, Daniel stood alone by the window. The city lights spread below, bright, cold, endless. He opened his phone, logged into his account, and waited. He told himself he was calm. He was not. Minutes passed. Hours passed. Nothing. He checked again. Still nothing. His thoughts grew louder. Was she scared? Was she planning? Was she waiting for morning? At exactly 1 hour after midnight, his phone vibrated. Transaction alert. Daniel's breath caught. He stared at the screen. A small amount. A store nearby. It was not much, but it was enough. Enough to make his hands shake. Enough to make him realize whatever Lisa Morgan chose to do with that card, his life would never feel the same again. And the night was far from over. Daniel did not sleep that night. He lay on his wide bed, staring at the ceiling, listening to the quiet hum of the city far below. The room was warm, too warm, yet his hands felt cold. He kept checking his phone, again and again, as if looking more would change what he saw. Another alert came at 2:11 a.m. A small amount. Another store. Daniel sat up slowly. This was not how a thief spent money. No big numbers, no wild spending, no sign of panic or greed. Still, he did not relax. He told himself this meant nothing. A smart person could start small, could plan something bigger. At 4:30 a.m., another alert. Groceries. Daniel let out a long breath he did not know he was holding. By morning, his phone showed a list of small purchases. Food, basic items, nothing fancy. His assistant called him again, her voice tight with stress, asking about meetings, about damage control. "Cancel everything," Daniel said, his voice flat. "Sir, the board will not accept that," she replied. "I will accept it," Daniel said, and ended the call. He dressed quickly and left the apartment before the sun fully rose. He did not want the driver this time. He wanted to walk, to feel the cold, to feel real ground under his feet. When he reached the subway entrance, his chest tightened. Lisa was still there. But things were different. Emily was awake now, sitting beside her mother, wearing a thick purple coat that clearly did not come from a donation bin. Her feet were in new boots. Her hair was brushed. In her hands was a small stuffed animal, held close, like something precious. Daniel stopped a few steps away. Lisa saw him and stood up fast, panic on her face. She reached into her pocket and pulled out the credit card, holding it out like proof. "I was going to bring it back," she said quickly. "I swear, I only used it for things we needed." Daniel raised his hand gently. "You still have time," he said. Lisa looked confused, scared, unsure if this was a trick. Daniel looked at Emily. "You look warm," he said softly. Lisa nodded. She was very cold last night. Daniel knelt down, ignoring the dirty floor, the stairs, the noise. "What is that?" he asked Emily, pointing at the toy. Emily hesitated, then smiled a little. "Her name is Daisy," she said. Daniel nodded. "That is a good name." Lisa swallowed hard. "I kept the receipts," she said, pulling them from her coat, her hand shaking. "I did not want you to think I did something wrong." She placed the papers in his hand. Daniel read them slowly. Every line told a story. A coat, boots, socks, food, medicine. Nothing for Lisa. At the bottom of one receipt, something made his throat close. A donation. "Why?" he asked quietly, looking up at her. "Why give money away?" Lisa lowered her eyes. "The shelter helped us before," she said. "They are always short of food, always full. I thought maybe just for one day I could help someone else." Daniel felt something break inside him. "You had every reason to keep it all," he said, his voice rough. "No one would blame you." Lisa shook her head. "I know what it feels like to be forgotten," she said. "I could not do that to someone else." Emily tugged at her mother's sleeve. "Mama," she whispered, "is he nice?" Lisa looked at Daniel, fear and hope fighting in her eyes. "He is," she said slowly. "I think he is." Daniel stood up, his legs stiff. He looked around, at the people rushing past, at the cold walls, at the place where a child had slept for months. "Come with me," he said. Lisa froze. "Where?" "Somewhere warm," Daniel replied. "Somewhere safe." "This is too much," Lisa said, tears falling now. "I cannot trust this." "I understand," Daniel said. "But you trusted me enough to not take everything." Lisa looked at Emily, then back at Daniel. After a long moment, she nodded. They rode in silence. Emily pressed her face to the window, watching the city move by. Lisa sat stiff, afraid to touch anything. The hotel room was quiet, bright, clean. Emily ran inside first, laughing, touching everything. Lisa stood by the door, shaking. "It is real," Daniel said gently. "You can rest." Lisa sank onto the couch, covering her face with her hands. 5 months of fear came out in quiet sobs. Daniel left them there, his chest heavy, his thoughts loud. That night, he made calls, not to business partners, but to people who helped others. He used his name not to demand, but to open doors. The next morning, he returned with coffee and food. Lisa looked different. Not rich, not perfect, just lighter. Daniel told her the plan, slowly, clearly, step by step. An apartment, training for work, school for Emily. Lisa cried again, this time without fear. Weeks passed. They moved into a small apartment. Clean, quiet, Emily slept in her own bed for the first time. Lisa studied, worked hard, learned fast. Daniel visited often. He carried boxes, fixed small things, listened. One evening, Lisa handed him the credit card. "I was scared to give it back," she said. "I thought everything would disappear." Daniel smiled softly and pushed it back into her hand. Keep it, he said, for emergencies, for peace. Lisa laughed through tears. You are a strange man. Daniel nodded. I know. For the first time in his life, he felt something close to peace. But deep inside, he knew the real change was not finished yet. Life did not change in one day. It changed slowly, step by step, the way real life always does. The first weeks in the apartment felt strange to Lisa. Every morning she woke up before the alarm, her body still trained to listen for danger. She would sit up in bed, hold her breath, and wait for noise that never came. No shouting, no trains, no cold air, just quiet walls and a door that locked from the inside. Emily slept deeply. She slept like a child who was no longer afraid to close her eyes. She slept through the night, wrapped in blankets, her stuffed toy pressed against her chest. Sometimes, Lisa stood at the doorway and watched her breathe, just to be sure this life was real. Daniel came by often, not every day, but enough to show he had not forgotten. He never came with cameras, never with announcements, never with a crowd. Sometimes he brought groceries. Sometimes he brought nothing but time. He sat at the small table and listened. Lisa told him things she had never told anyone. How she lost her job after her company shut down. How bills piled up faster than she could pay. How one missed payment turned into many. How help ran out. How pride kept her quiet until it was too late. She talked about nights she stayed awake so Emily could sleep, days she smiled so her daughter would not see fear. Daniel listened without interrupting. For the first time in his life, he was not trying to fix everything at once. He learned that listening was also work. Emily grew fast, not in height, but in joy. She brought home drawings from school, messy shapes with bright colors. She talked about friends, about teachers, about stories she read. She laughed easily now, the kind of laugh that fills a room without asking permission. Daniel attended her school event one afternoon. He sat on a small chair that creaked under his weight, surrounded by parents who did not know his name or his worth. Emily stood on the stage with other children, her voice shaking but strong as she sang. When she looked into the crowd and saw Daniel, she smiled wide and waved. Daniel clapped until his hands hurt. Something inside him settled that day. Lisa finished her training and got a job at a medical office in New York. It was not glamorous work, but it was steady. She wore clean clothes, packed lunch in the morning, and came home tired, in a good way. The kind of tired that meant progress. The first paycheck made her cry. She held it in her hands like proof that she existed again. I earned this, she told Daniel one evening, her voice shaking. This is mine. Daniel nodded. You earned it long before this, he said. The world just took too long to notice. Months passed. Seasons changed. The cold eased, then returned again. But this time, Lisa and Emily watched it from behind glass. Warm, safe. Daniel's life changed too, though fewer people noticed. He spent less time chasing numbers and more time choosing meaning. He still ran his company, still made decisions, but something was different. He questioned things now. He asked who was helped, who was harmed, who was forgotten. One night, after dinner at Lisa's apartment, Emily brought out a small box. This is for you, she said, pushing it toward Daniel. Inside was a drawing, a stick figure man, a woman, and a child, all holding hands. Above them were 3 words, written carefully. Thank you for caring. Daniel swallowed hard. I will keep this, he said quietly, forever. Later that evening, after Emily fell asleep, Lisa and Daniel sat on the couch. The room was calm. The city noise stayed outside. I think about that day sometimes, Lisa said. The subway, the card, everything. So do I, Daniel replied. I was scared, she said, not just of losing the card, but of hope. Hope hurts when it disappears. Daniel nodded. I was scared too, he admitted. Scared that my father was right. scared that kindness was foolish. Lisa looked at him. Was he? Daniel thought for a long moment. No, he said. He was wrong, and I am glad I learned that before it was too late. Lisa reached into a drawer and pulled out the credit card. She placed it on the table between them. I do not want this anymore, she said. Not because I do not trust you, but because I trust myself now. Daniel smiled. He pushed it back gently. You do not need it, he said, but keep it anyway. Not as money, but as a reminder that you are never alone again. Lisa nodded, tears in her eyes. That night, Daniel walked home alone. The city felt different now. Not smaller, not softer, just more real. He understood something he had missed for most of his life. Money did not save Lisa and Emily. Choice did. Lisa chose her child over herself. She chose honesty over fear. She chose kindness even when she had nothing. And Daniel chose to see her. The next morning, Daniel passed the same subway entrance where everything began. Someone else sat there now. Another story, another life. Daniel stopped, reached into his pocket, and knelt down. Not to test, not to judge, but to help. And this time, he did not need a credit card to know what the right choice was. If this story touched your heart, remember this. Sometimes the smallest choice can change a whole life. Sometimes the person the world ignores carries the biggest heart of all. Kindness does not need wealth. It only needs courage. And one moment of trust can turn pain into hope. If you believe stories like this matter, please subscribe to this channel so you never miss stories that remind us what it means to be human. And tell us in the comments where you are watching from. Your voice matters here. Now let me ask you, if you were given unlimited money for one day, what would you truly spend it on? Do you think you would have trusted her the way Daniel did? And do you believe one act of kindness can really change a person's life forever?